Good morning, players. My name is Laramie. I'm going to continue from my intro video about Infinite Neck, and I'm going to show you this software tool. Right now we're just going to look at the menuing system. So we've got a hamburger up here that turns the menuing on and off. As you go through each of these menus, it creates an area where some controls are, but it keeps the neck in view. Sometimes this area gets a little big, but you just scroll down. So that's the file menu. Here's the section menu, the view menu. You notice it's starting to scroll down, but you can always just scroll to the neck, or you can click the button again and then it goes away. Themes, tunings, all of the instruments are in here. We're going to get into that in a separate video, but you just hit the checkbox and the tuning shows up. There's a second guitar with that tuning. Fill allows you to fill notes and scales. Palette allows you to select all the types of notes, change their colors, get into style sheets, and the help system will pop up the help file. Okay. And then this last one is themes. So let's put a couple notes on randomly. So the default, pool shark, just go through these. Different color schemes, different spacings, different corner roundings, and even some silliness. So if you want Celtic designs in your guitar neck, there you go. Or, you know. But these are useful not just for looking good, but here, for example, is a theme that does not have black and white keys. All these other ones have actual black and white keys, as though the guitar were a piano. All right, so these are all the themes. This one is useful when you're working with a an Ableton controller, and then this one's just fun. Okay. So let's go back to something reasonable. All right, so under the file menu, we've got, you can choose a file. These would be on my system files that I've created and saved, and I can reopen them. Okay. You can also find songs that I've created and put on my web server, and these show you chords, and there's some games in here for doing, say, like flashcards. It's kind of useful. And here's your song name. Now when you change my song and then you download it, it will offer to download it for you. There we go. Downloading my song. Okay. You can set the BPM for the song, and you can view the graveyard, which I'll get into in a separate video. That's basically undo. Everything you delete from the program goes into the graveyard, and you can revive it later. Okay. Within the sections are like bars. You have the number of bars, sections here, number of beats per section, which you can change. Current beat we're on. All these things you can do with a section, including changing the caption. First section. Boom, and then it shows up here. You can change the key. You can have a second instrument or another line you're going to play be in a different key over the key that you've got shown on the neck. And you can view them all in flats and sharps, and then there's a bunch of transposition. So you get one of these, or this affects every section, but you can have multiple sections in a song. You can customize the interface quite a bit, including turning down the opacity of things, hiding things, changing. So here we have a B in the center and the little delta, which means major 7. But if I change to function, then the B is now in the corner and the function is in the center. So you can mess around with that. You don't have to use my system. You can go to function numbers. So that's shown. You can show function offset. How many are you away from the root? You can even do kanji, right? Or you can put your own in if you don't like any of my systems. So the default is this system that I've cooked up out of some classical and jazz notations. It's all very scalable and changeable, so you can change the sizes of all the notes and everything. And then you can just change display so that everything you do on this page is persistent for that bar or for the whole song. The themes I already showed. You can actually customize them even more and then mash on the theme button. The tunings are all here. You can see we've got lots. Banjos, mandolins, and these basically just give you different notes for the frets. Right? You can fill. Let's go ahead and, well, I'm going to continue the menu. And you got the palette. So let's do the fill. So, and let's do section, new section. Section, new section. And then we're going to fill. And so let's say I want to have a root in the root color, which I've selected somewhere else. We can get into that later. And then the chord function will be in red. And the scale will be in the scale color, which is currently set to blue. Those are all customizable. So here's a whole tone scale with chords. This makes more sense when we turn off auto color. So now we're in actually this colors that you saw rather than the auto color uses these colors per note. So a 1 is always black. The red is always used for the 5 note. A 6 is always light green. And again, you can change that to whatever you want. Okay? So let's turn off style sheets. Okay, so here I am. I've got a whole tone scale rooted on C, and then I'm adding the chords, and then the chords win over the scale notes. Let's see. If I want to erase, then I say none, and chord, none, fill. Okay, so it's erasing it. I kept the root. So let's go with a chord, and let's say instead of a major chord, let's do something interesting like a minor 7 flat 5. Oh ho! There it is. Okay? So if you were to play all these notes, that would be a minor 7 flat 5. And let's say we want to put a minor scale in front of that. Let's try the Aeolian minor and turn this to scale. fill notes. Okay, so now we can, so these are all legal notes you could play in the Aeolian scale, and then you could swing over here and hit the minor 7 flat 5. Okay. And then here's the palette. I think I'll make a separate video about the palette, but basically, section, new section is, go to that new section. There we go. Okay, so let's look at the palette and see what's going on here. Let's go back to auto color. A named note looks like that. A single note looks like that. Tiny notes are useful for just kind of showing fingering, or options. You can actually mash them right on top of another note. The bend. We've got a couple different kinds of bends. Pre-bend, you know. Then we've got this pitch thing. This helps you find all MIDI notes on your neck. So I click one and it finds all the other ones, and what it is shown here. MIDI 64, row 2, column 4 on this instrument. And if you have other instruments, it'll also show that note on the other instruments in different tunings, so you can learn with that. Here's multi-select if you wanted to show individual notes, and you can record those. And then we've got fingering. So fingering is, I'm going to actually play this chord with that fingering, but maybe this note is actually played with my middle finger. And you got thumb, 1, 2, 3, 4. Clear is for, let me clear. Now the clear is specific to the type of note. So if I go single note and I mash on this, nothing happens because there's no single note there, but there is a single note here. So that clear is another way to delete. Named note, I could delete a named note. And a tiny note, I could delete a tiny note. Also, with a tiny note, you can also just hit it again. And if you ever get stuck on clear, then you have to go back into the color. Choose emboss. Now we're back in business. I can add a tiny note, remove a tiny note. Okay. Suppose I have a color and I want to know what it is. I can also choose find color. And we'll do more. Okay, so then I'm going to say, what's this one? And it should show up. All right. So that's the menuing system.